Hello everyone, welcome to UGC NET Textbook. This is Dakshita Singh, your guide for English literature. Today's session is going to be a rapid fire round. As you can see on the thumbnail itself, बहुत ही जल्दी हम लोग बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस करने वाले हैं आज के सेशन में एंड आई होप यू पीपल आर मेंटली प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर इट. यू पीपल आर एब्सोल्युटली रेडी फॉर दिस सेशन बिकॉज दिस विल हेल्प यू रिवाइज ऑल द 10 यूनिट्स गाइज, क्योंकि सारी यूनिट्स के मैं क्वेश्चंस लेकर आई हूँ एंड इन टोटल आप लोग 200 क्वेश्चंस करने वाले हो in a very short span. Okay, चलो. ओके, ऑडियो वीडियो पीपीटी सब करेक्ट है, मुझे पता पड़ गया है. ओके, थैंक यू प्रदीप. ऑलराइट, चलो. गुड इवनिंग. लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द सेशन. I hope you people have shared it in your study groups so that maximum people can get benefited from this. Okay, and before I start with the session, before हम लोग अपना rapid fire start करें, आप लोगों को मैं inform कर दूं कि आप लोगों का कल एक session है which is at 3 guys. And मैंने आपको ये बोला था कि इस session को आप वीडियो के फॉर्म में नहीं देख सकते बहुत देर तक, तो ऑडियो के फॉर्म में देख लेना, बट इस सेशन को मिस मत करना. ओहो, चलो ये तो कुछ गड़बड़ हो गई मेरे टेलीग्राम क्यूआर के साथ. इट्स फाइन. एंड इफ यू हैवंट सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल, सब्सक्राइब टू इट राइट नाउ. और मैं एक बार बता देती हूँ, कल मेरा सेशन है. ओहो, मेरे पास पेन नहीं है गाइस, एक सेकंड रुको. यस, सो कल मेरा सेशन है विच इज गोइंग टू बी एट 3. ओके, इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी एट 5 जो मेरा यूजुअल टाइमिंग है. वो 3 PM पे स्टार्ट होगा एंड आई कांट से कि ये कब तक चलेगा, क्योंकि मुझे भी नहीं पता है ये कब तक चलेगा. बट ये सेशन आप में से कोई भी मिस नहीं कर रहा है. एंड दिस सेशन इज गोइंग टू कंटेन ऑल द इम्पॉर्टेंट PYQs ऑफ योर्स. तो मैं आपको आपकी 2025 साइकिल से ऑलमोस्ट 2017-2018 तक की साइकिल के सारे क्वेश्चंस कराने वाली हूँ इस पर्टिकुलर सेशन में. इस सेशन को मिस मत करना. एंड इस सेशन की रैपिड फायर की ऑल्सो ये जो PYQs वाला सेशन होने वाला है, इन दोनों की डिटेल्ड एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस की इंफॉर्मेशन के साथ मैं एक PDF भी शेयर करूंगी आपके साथ. उसके लिए आपको नीचे गूगल फॉर्म भरना होगा एंड वो मेरे टेलीग्राम पे भी आपको मिल जाएगा. ठीक है, चलो. सो स्टार्ट कर लेते हैं. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन द स्क्रीन. Which post-colonial work by Wole Soyinka is a tragicomedy that critiques British colonialism in Nigeria? I'll give you around 10 to 15 seconds. क्वेश्चन पे डिपेंड करता है, कुछ क्वेश्चन पे मैं थोड़े से सेकंड ज्यादा दूंगी आपको. ओके, यस. हाँ, should we revise world literature now or stick to the key topics? Stick to the key topics. Stick to the key topics. No, don't dive yourself into anything which is not that important at the moment. Stick to the key topics. Okay. So मेरे पास also please इस सेशन में इस तरीके से आंसर करना. फर्स्ट A, फर्स्ट B, फर्स्ट C, इस तरीके से आंसर करना. मेरे लिए भी कन्वीनियंट हो जाएगा. मेरे लिए भी कन्वीनियंट होगा कि आप कौन से क्वेश्चन पे हो. ठीक है, तो मैं सिर्फ ये वाले आंसर्स ही एक्सेप्ट करूंगी. अगर आप अदरवाइज आंसर कर रहे हो, मैं एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं करूंगी आंसर को. मैं पहले ही डिस्क्लेमर दे रही हूँ. Everyone has to write the answer in this manner only. The correct answer is A, Death and the King's Horseman. Next question. Which Elizabethan playwright is known for his complex female characters and is often considered a precursor to Shakespeare, notably in the play The Duchess of Malfi? All in all, the question is asking you, who is the writer of The Duchess of Malfi? It is option number C, John Webster. Okay, so C will be the correct answer. You need to be quicker, guys. You need to be quicker. Which poet coined the term negative capability and demonstrated this concept in works like Ode on a Gershon Urn? The correct answer is John Keats. So C will be the correct answer. Third ka C. Absolutely correct. Chalo. Next question. Which in Alfred Lord Tennyson's In Memoriam AHH, how does the poet reconcile the conflict between religious faith and scientific doubt, particularly in the context of the Victorian era's intellectual milieu? By completely rejecting scientific viewpoints in favor of Orthodox Christianity, by advocating for a synthesis of science and spirituality, by using Darwinian theories to critique the church power, by ignoring scientific advances and focusing solely on emotional grief. Question number 4, the correct answer will be B, by advocating for a synthesis. दोनों का amalgamation, synthesis of science and spirituality. Next question. Question number 5. Who is the author of Orinoco, a narrative that explores the themes of slavery, race and colonialism? बहुत easy question है. The correct answer is Afra Ben. She is also the writer of The Rover. Okay. ये भी याद रखना, दोनों keywords. Next question. Which acclaimed postmodern novel by Thomas Pynchon set in the immediate aftermath of World War II includes the enigmatic character Tyrone Slothrop? I need you people to answer this for me. Pynchon का कौन सा वर्क है जिसमें आपको एक कैरेक्टर मिलता है Tyrone Slothrop? Sixth question. नहीं कनिका, मैं सारे ऑल 10 यूनिट्स के क्वेश्चंस करा रही हूँ. इंग्लिश इन इंडिया की क्लास में ले चुकी हूँ. इफ यू हैवंट वॉच्ड दैट वीडियो, आप वो देख सकते हो. उस सेशन में ट्रस्ट मी मैंने सब कुछ कवर कराया है, सब कुछ. यस, द करेक्ट आंसर इज ग्रेविटीज रेनबो, बी. ग्रेविटीज रेनबो विल बी द करेक्ट आंसर. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Who among the following is credited with introducing and popularizing the essay in English literature? Thomas Nash, Lily Bacon and Richard Hooker. Obviously it is C, which is the father of English essays. The prince of English essays is Charles Lamb. Next question. Which early Indian English novel intricately explores colonialism through the metaphor of the textile industry, juxtaposing characters against the backdrop of Bengal's historical fabric production? इनमें से कौन से वर्क के बैकड्रॉप बंगाल का है? The Circle of Reason will be the correct answer. कंठापुरा, God of Small Things and Untouchable, तीनों में ही आपको बंगाल बैकड्रॉप नहीं मिलता है. Okay. Who among the following wrote the drama Tughlaq? Who among the following wrote the drama Tughlaq? Girish Karnad, Rabindranath Tagore, Mahesh Tatani और विजय तेंदुलकर. The correct answer will be 9th का क्या आंसर होगा? तुगलक किसका वर्क है? It is by Karnad, so A will be the correct answer. Okay. ये बहुत बार हम कर चुके हैं अपने previous sessions में भी. In evaluating the impact of rhetoric on poetic forms whose conceptualization of technique in works like rhetoric and poetics provided a dual foundation for. Okay, the question is asking you, अगर आपको technique किसने दिया ये नहीं पता, but ये पता है कि rhetoric and poetics किसके works थे, तो भी आप आंसर कर सकते हो, which is by Aristotle. So C will be the correct answer. Okay. Which essay by Harold Bloom discusses the misreading or swerve that creates new meaning central to his concept of poetic influence? Question number 11. कौन सा वर्क है ब्लूम का? अ मैप ऑफ मिसरीडिंग इज अ वर्क बाय ब्लूम जिसमें कि उन्होंने स्वर्व की बात करी है. एंड ये पॉइंट आप अदरवाइज भी याद रखना, ये भी पूछा जा सकता है कि स्वर्व कॉन्सेप्ट पर्टिकुलरली किस वर्क में था या किस ऑथर का था, किस राइटर का था. In his 4 essays, which critic provided the foundational analysis for the concepts of irony and satire within the framework of classical rhetoric? Fry, Brooks, Booth or Burke? Kenneth Burke. It is question number 12. The correct answer will be Wayne C. Booth. Okay. Yes. I need you people to answer. पहले question number लिखो और फिर answer लिखो. According to Bakhtin's theory of the carnivalesque, it represents the intense emotional moments in a narrative, no. The display of excessive wealth and opulence in literature, no. A subversive, disruptive movement in literature that goes against the norms. The situation जहाँ पे आपका social structure dismantle हो जाता है, जिसको हम carnivalesque कहते हैं, situation of a carnival, a fair. Who is credited with the articulation of necropolitics? And carnivalesque के आइडिया को किसने दिया था? मिकेल बाख्तिन ने दिया था. Also the one जिन्होंने हमें heteroglossia, polyphony और dialogism ये सारे terms भी दिए हैं. Who is credited with the articulation of necropolitics to describe the power of the slate? Okay. Stop spamming, please. Everyone is trying to study. Okay, necropolitics to describe the power of the slate to the power of the state to dictate who may live and who must die. It was A. Achille Bembe. Okay, this must be a new set of information for you. आप यहाँ से याद रख लेना इसको. Okay. कुछ ऐसी नई इन्फो भी आपको आज के सेशन में मिलने वाली है जो आपको काफी बेनिफिट करेगी, आपको अदरवाइज नहीं मिलती है, तो उसे याद रखना. Okay, what is the term used to describe the smallest meaningful unit of language? Phoneme, morpheme, allophone or lexeme? It is B guys. The smallest meaningful unit is morpheme, जिसमें कि हमने lexeme and sesame भी पढ़ा था, जो आपका base unit and आपका conceptual meaning को हम कहते हैं. Which philosopher and psychologist contended that language and thought develop simultaneously and interactively, proposing that higher cognitive functions like planning, reasoning are deeply rooted in social interactions mediated by language. Social interactionist theory हमें किसने दी थी? It was Vygotsky. अभी हमने 2-3 बारी अपने पिछले सेशंस में बात कर ली है. So A will be the answer. Easy question. How would a textual scholar most effectively address variants found in different editions of a Shakespearean play? By selecting the most popular version for analysis, by comparing and collating different editions to establish the most authoritative text, by focusing solely on the first folio edition, or by dismissing any differences or as irrelevant to the study. Obviously, by comparing and collating different. Okay, so B will be the answer. Next question. How would communicative language teaching, CLT, be effectively implemented to teach the metafictional elements in novels like If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler? This particular work is by Italo Calvino. Please remember this name. This is a very important metafictional work. Falls in your European literature. Through teacher-led lectures on metafiction, by creating group activities where students collaboratively explore and present on the novel's self-referential strategies, by focusing on translating excerpts of the novel through extensive written reports on metafiction. B will be the correct answer. Frederick Jameson's concept of cognitive mapping suggests that it is necessary to develop a cognitive understanding of. Yes, Italo Calvino, absolutely. 19th, the complex relationship between individual subjectivities and societal structures, the hierarchical power dynamics within cultural industries, the transformative potential of collective action and social movements, the impact of technological advancements on cultural production and consumption. The correct answer will be A. Very good, Dakshita, very good. Chalo, next. In Harold Pinter's The Homecoming, what is the name of the character who returns home with a wife, leading to psychological power struggles? In Harold Pinter's The Homecoming, what is the name of the character who returns home with a wife leading to psychological power struggle? That is Teddy, guys, Teddy. The play Arcadia by Tom Stoppard juxtaposes scenes from the early 19th century with the late 20th century. What key conceptual theme weaves together these two time periods? The rise of industrialization, the nature of historical and literary research, the conflict between aristocracy and common people, the development of romantic relationships. 21st ka answer will be option number B, the nature of historical and literary research. In which poem does William Wordsworth explore the theme of recollecting past joy from the perspective of future tranquility and contain the line, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils? Tintern Abbey, Imitations of Immortality, I wandered lonely as a cloud, or the prelude? ये particular line आपकी आती है I wandered lonely as a cloud में. 22nd का C. Robert Browning's dramatic monologue, Caliban upon Setebos, explores the themes of power and creation through the character of Caliban from Shakespeare's Tempest. What philosophical or theological perspective does Browning interrogate through this poem? Calvinism and predestination, atheism and existential despair, natural theology and the implications of a capricious deity, humanism and the inherent goodness of man. Natural theology and the implications of a capricious deity. Next question. 24. Who is the author of Evelina, a novel that portrays the coming of age experiences of a young woman in high society? Evelina is a work by Frances Burney. C will be the correct answer. Correct. Known for its intricate use of language and deep cultural references, with James Joyce's novel features Leopold Bloom's journey through Dublin. Leopold Bloom or Molly Bloom or Stephen Dedalus. These were characters in the work Ulysses, which is D by James Joyce. Okay. Finnegan's Wake is the work जहाँ पे उन्होंने polyphony का use करा है, and this is a Cantal's roman. Okay. What was a key tenet of the Romantic literary movement as embodied in many critical essays of the period? The primacy of the imagination, the doctrine of verisimilitude. Verisimilitude is associated with realism, guys. Okay, so this will definitely not be the answer. The celebration of the urban landscape or the celebration of religious orthodoxy. Urban landscape was not celebrated in your romantic literary movement, so A will be the answer. Okay, so 26A, absolutely right. Okay. Which novel portrays the socio-economic divide in contemporary India through the eyes of a morally ambiguous protagonist and was awarded the Man Booker Prize in 2008? 2008 में किस वर्क को Man Booker Prize मिला था? The Inheritance of Laws by Desai, The White Tiger by Adhika, Necropolis by Jeet Thayil, or Q&A by Vikas Swaroop. It was The White Tiger by Arvind Adhika, which had a very ambiguous protagonist, a morally ambiguous protagonist, Balram Halwai. Okay. In Khushwant Singh's novel Train to Pakistan, which of the following characters is a social outcast and is central to the plot due to his unique position in the community? Jagga Singh, Iqbal Singh, Meet Singh, or Hukum Chand? The protagonist of the work is Jagga Singh. So A will be the correct answer. Which Roman critic and rhetorician who championed the moral purpose of literature and oratory emphasizes the pragmatic use of rhetoric in his vast and systematic work Institutio Oratorio? This is Horace, Longinus, Seneca, or Quintilian. This is a question from literary criticism and Greek and Roman literary criticism, and the answer will be D, Quintilian. Which critics works Metaphor and Reality? Yes, Metaphor and Reality is a detailed philosophical exploration of the metaphor's role in shaping human perception and reality. Paul Ricoeur, Philip Wheelwright, Kenneth Brooke और I.A. Richards. Metaphor and Reality के बारे में किसने बात करी थी? It was option number B, Philip Wheelwright. Okay, so B will be the correct answer. 30th का B. Okay. Freedom का correct है. All right. The Art of Criticism, Henry James, on the Theory and the Practice of Fiction is primarily a collection of James' essays edited by which Nobel critic? F.R. Lewis, Percy Lubbock, R.P. Blackmore, or Edmund Wilson? Who was the one who edited this work of Henry James? It was Percy Lubbock. So B will be the answer. 31st ka B. Okay. Yes. As I told you, you will be learning a lot more than you expected. आपको आज new info भी मिल रही होगी इस सेशन में. Please make sure कि आप उसे याद कर लेना. And इसकी detailed PDF मैं आप लोगों को provide भी करूँगी. Okay? With extra info, guys. Key information उसमें added होगी with additional information. Which of the following statements about queer theory is not correct? It rejects the concept of fixed identities. It emphasizes heteronormativity in literature and society. It emerged as an extension of feminist theory, or it denies the social construct of gender. The question is asking you not correct. So it emphasizes heteronormativity and literature and society will be the incorrect statement. So 32nd ka B. What theory elaborated by Gilles Deleuze and Felix Guattari conceptualizes literature and culture in the terms of rhizomatic structures that defy linear hierarchical modes of organization? Psychoanalysis, post-structuralism, new historicism, or schizoanalysis? Yes, absolutely. D will be the correct answer. D will be the answer. So 33rd ka D. Okay. What term refers to the process by which existing words and phrases change their meaning over time? Phonetics, semantic shift, morphology, or lexicalization? 34 ka It will be semantic shift, B. Okay. All right. Next question. Whose semiotic theory explores the relationship between signs and their reference? If you remember, मैंने ये बात आपको पढ़ाई है, reference के बारे में किसने बात करी है? Suggesting that understanding the origin of language necessitates a deep analysis of sign systems in cultural context. सिर्फ सस्योर ने बात नहीं करी है about sign signifier and signified. Reference की बात करी थी चार्ल्स सैंडर्स पियर्स. B will be the correct answer. 35 का B. Okay. In the context of digital humanities, which of the following best describes the method of distant reading? The question is asking you about distant reading. A close textual analysis of a key passage will be associated with practical criticism. Analyzing a large corpus of text using computational tools to identify patterns, conducting surveys with readers about their interpretations, engaging personally with the text through subjective reading journals. So, यहाँ पे B will be the answer. 36 का B, absolutely correct. Okay. How can the concept of the language acquisition device LAD be utilized to encourage advanced students to grasp the intricate symbolism in Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad? By relying heavily on translations and syntactic analysis, by exposing students to complex symbolic narratives, and guiding them to trust their inherent linguistic capabilities through rote learning of symbolic references, or focusing on the historical and biographical context. So 37 B will be the correct answer. Which term refers to the idea that our understanding of reality is constructed by societal frameworks like language, media, and culture? Which term refers to the idea that our understanding of reality is constructed by societal frameworks? Simulation, hyperreality, social construction of reality, or Orientalism? The option C will be the answer. Simulation and hyperreality are by Baudrillard, and Orientalism is by Edward Said. So please remember this as well. Okay. Next. Which play by Carl Churchill explores themes of gender and colonialism and is set in both Victorian Africa and contemporary London? Which play by Carl Churchill explores themes of gender and colonialism and is set in both Victorian Africa and contemporary London? The correct answer will be C, Cloud 9. Very good. 39, C will be the correct answer. Who is the main character in Harold Pinter's play The Caretaker, which deals with power dynamics and identity? Aston, Davis, Mick, or Stanley? 40. Question number 40. Aston, Davis, Mick, or Stanley? Who is the main character in The Caretaker? It is Davis, guys. B will be the correct answer. Ezra Pound's In a Station of the Metro is an example of which poetic movement characterized by precise imagery and clarity of expression? Symbolism, surrealism, imagism, modernism. C will be the correct answer. Imagism. Okay. So 41 C. Next. Matthew Arnold's concept of sweetness and light is central to his critical works. In which of his poems, sweetness and light was a concept borrowed by Arnold from Swift? So please remember that as well. In which of his poems does Arnold explore the failure of contemporary society to balance these ideals, leading to a pervasive sense of melancholy and disillusionment? The correct answer will be Dover Beach by Arnold. C. What is the name of the estate that Mr. Darcy owns in Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice? What is the name of the estate that Darcy owns in the work Pride and Prejudice? Longbourn, Netherfield Park, Rosings Park, or Pemberley? D will be the answer, Pemberley. Next. In which novel does Rushdie blend magical realism with historical events to tell the story of Salim Sinai, a boy born at the exact moment of India's independence? Satanic Verses, Midnight Children, Shame, or The Moor's Last Sigh? B will be the correct answer. Salim Sinai is a character in B. Correct. So 44 B. Next. What was a notable shift in non-fiction writing that took place during the Augustan age? From philosophy and politics to purely fictional stories, from religion and spirituality to science and technology, from prose to verse, or from private circulation to a broader public readership. As we all know, Augustan age was the time when we have the periodicals booming. So it was a shift to broader public readership. D will be the answer. 45D. The characters and thematic concerns in which novel are deeply influenced by the author's background in sociology and diverse cultural experiences. Yes. 46. The characters and thematic concerns in which novel are deeply influenced by the author's background in sociology and diverse cultural experiences. The God of Small Things, Clear Light of Day, In Custody, A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mistry. D will be the answer. That is by Rohinton Mistry. Who among the following poets of Indian English literature is recognized for his use of irony and satire to critique societal norms and conventions? Yes. Who among the following poets of Indian English literature is recognized for his use of irony and satire to critique? Rabindranath Tagore, Ezekiel Dutt, or Ghosh? Ezekiel was mainly known for his irony and satire in his works to criticize the societal norms. 48. Between the humanist revival and the propagation of classical antiquities aesthetic canons, whose influential essay on the imitation of the Greeks spearheaded the Renaissance emphasis on the emulation of ancient models in literary creation? Pietro Bembo, Erasmus, Lodovico, or Giulio Camillo? ऑल्सो लोडोविको वॉज द वन जिन्होंने हमें वो जो डिस्टिंक्शन है आपकी यूनिटी ऑफ टाइम, यूनिटी ऑफ प्लेस, यूनिटी ऑफ एक्शन, ये जो तीन डिस्टिंक्शंस हैं हमारे पास जो एरिस्टोटल ने हमें मेनली प्रोवाइड करे थे, बट वो डिस्टिंक्शन प्रोवाइड नहीं करी थी. लोडोविको वॉज द वन हु प्रोवाइडेड एज अ डिस्टिंक्शन. द करेक्ट आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन विल बी option number B, Erasmus. Okay, so this work on the imitations of the Greek is by Erasmus. The political unconscious narrative as a socially symbolic act is a seminal work by which critic that integrates Marxist and psychoanalytic theories to analyze literature. Yes. Yes, Aristotle ने explain किया था और इन्होंने distinction provide किया था. This particular work is a seminal work by which Marxist psychoanalytic theories to analyze literature, Jameson, Eggleton, Slavoj और Louis Althusser. The correct answer will be Jameson. ये भी हमने पढ़ा है, the political unconscious. Very important work, guys. This Victorian era critic, in his extensive work, argued that religious faith emanates from psychological needs rather than divine revelation, thereby influencing secular literary criticism. His major discussion of an elusive idol and spiritual disenchantment can be found in which critical treatise? The function of criticism, essays in criticism on heroes, hero worship, and the heroic in history, culture, and anarchy. The correct answer will be culture and anarchy, D. So 50th ka D will be the correct answer. Next, which of the following is not a focus of cultural materialism? Which of the following is not a focus of cultural materialism? The historical context of literature, the analysis of power structure in society as represented in literature, the psychoanalytical exploration of the character's motivation, or the socio-political critique of cultural forms. C will be the answer to this question. Next, which philosopher's concept of parrhesia, meaning fearless speech, has been pivotal in discussions around ethics and truth-telling within power structures? Salvage, Michel Foucault, Jacques Rancière, or Judith Butler? Who was the one who gave this concept? 52. 52. The correct answer will be option number B, Michel Foucault. Next, Creole languages often exhibit a unique linguistic feature called creolization. What does creolization refer to in the context of Creole languages? The process of borrowing words and grammatical structures from other languages. the development of a standardized form of the Creole language through education and formal institutions, the influence of a dominant colonial language on the grammatical structure and vocabulary of the Creole language, the emergence of a new language variety within its own distinct grammar and vocabulary. So, D will be the correct answer. Who critiques the idea of a single point of origin for language by proposing that language evolution is a complex process influenced by social, cognitive, and environmental factors, as articulated in the social origins of language. Whose work is this, guys? All in all, the question is asking you whose work is this? The correct answer will be option number A, Michael Tomasello. Okay, so 54A. This is again a new set of information for you. Using psychoanalytic theory in a literary analysis often requires engagement with which of the following elements? Historical accuracy of the plot, underlying psychological motivations and subconscious desires, stylistic elements, or political implications of the text narrative. B will be the correct answer. How does utilizing the direct method to teach romantic poetry address the challenge of engaging students with abstract themes and imagery? By translating poems into the students' native language through direct engagement and discussions in English, encouraging students to express their interpretation, by focusing on the historical context and biographical detail, or conducting extensive grammar drills. B will be the correct answer. 56B. The concept of cultural hegemony was developed by which theorist? Hegemony का आइडिया जिसने दिया था उन्होंने cultural hegemony का आइडिया दिया है. That is A, Antonio Gramsci. Yes, Antonio Gramsci. Who wrote Top Dog Underdog, a Pulitzer Prize winning drama about two brothers grappling with family dynamics and social issues? Suzanne Laurie Parks, August Wilson, Lorraine Hansberry, or Emily Baraka? Who was the one जिन्होंने Top Dog Underdog work, which is a Pulitzer Prize winning novel, drama लिखा था? That was Suzanne Laurie Parks. A will be the correct answer. Next, in the play Top Girls by Carl Churchill, which character hosts a dinner party for various historical and fictional women? In this particular work by Carl Churchill, which character hosts a dinner party for various historical and fictional women? The correct answer will be C, Marlene. Okay, so 59C. Next, which of the following lines opens the poem The Second Coming by W.B. Yeats, which dwells into themes of chaos and disorder? What is the opening line? Turning and turning in the white. Okay, guys, I'm audible. I think the issue is fixed. Last half 60 question आपने देखा था, ठीक है. I love when you people use humor in situations like these when, like Tushar said, as falcon can't hear the falconer. Yes, rightly said, Tushar. Okay, chalo. So 61. Elizabeth Barrett Browning uses intricate sonnet structure to express profound personal emotions in sonnets from the Portuguese. Which sonnet famously begins with the lines, "How do I love thee? Let me count the ways." 61, option number. I think 43 will be the correct answer. B. Yes, option number B will be the correct answer. Next, in Austen's Emma, which character says the following? Men of sense, whatever you may choose to say, do not want silly wives. Mr. Knightley, Frank Churchill, Mr. Woodhouse, Mrs. Weston. Jane Austen's novel Emma, who says the following lines? It is Mr. Knightley who is the speaker of the given line. So 62, A will be the correct answer. Which Toni Morrison novel set after the American Civil War is centered around the life of Seeth, a former slave and who lives in a haunted house with her daughter? 1 second. Yes. What will be the correct answer? Beloved will be the correct answer. D. What was the year of Beloved? 1987 was the year of Beloved. Please remember the year as well. Who was the key figure behind the publication of The Spectator, one of the most influential periodicals of the Augustan age? Alexander Pope, Joseph Addison, Jonathan Swift, or John Locke? It was Joseph Addison. B. Okay. Another important periodical of this time is The Tatler. The intricate narrative structure of which novel mirrors the episodic fragmentation of post-colonial identity and utilizes intertextuality to critique the paradigms of historical writing itself. River Sutra, Shadow Lines, Desirable Daughters, or An Atlas of Impossible Longing by Anuradha Roy. The correct answer will be 65. The intricate narrative structure of which novel with episodic fragmentation? The correct answer is Shadow Lines by Amitav Ghosh. Which Indian poet is known for the collection The Old Playhouse and Other Poems? We did this question in our recent sessions. Kamala Das is the one behind this collection. Okay. Next we have proponents of poetic imagination and social utility often clashed in Renaissance literary theory, whose apology for poetry paradoxically defended literature's divine aspect while conceding moral imperatives. George Puttenham, Sidney Spencer, or Ben Jonson? It was Philip Sidney who wrote this work. Okay, next. Which critic and theorist developed the concept of the thick description in his work, The Interpretation of Cultures, blending literary criticism with anthropological methods? It is Clifford Geertz, Edward Said, Giles Deleuze, or Jean Baudrillard. It is A, option number A, 68. Question number. Next, identified with a form of classical rhetoric that elaborates on the significance of sublimity in literature, this Longinus inspired critic's work has had a profound impact on aesthetic theory. What is the title of the work that elevates literary and artistic intensity over mere moral decorum? Sublime Inquiry into the Sublime and Beautiful, The Spectator, or Critical Essays? B will be the correct answer. Teach and Delight. Okay, next. Also, another question, another point, guys. Uh, who else was inspired from the ideas of Horace, of sublimity, and of decorum, to be specific, of decorum? It was Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson also talked about decorum. Okay, all right. In the context of trauma theory, how is the traumatic event often represented in literature? As an event that is fully understood and processed by the character, as a recurring motive that characters remember vividly, as an elusive event that is difficult to recollect, or as a trivial incident that has little to no impact on the characters' lives. C, as an elusive event that is difficult to recollect. Next, who developed the idea of compulsory heterosexuality and its role in maintaining patriarchal structures, especially in feminist literary analysis? Monique Wittig, Adrian Rich, Lucy Irigaray, or Simone de Beauvoir? Who developed the idea of compulsory heterosexuality? It is B. Adrian Rich was the one who gave this idea. What term refers to the study of how language is used in social context to convey meaning and achieve communication goals? What term refers to the study of how language is used in social contexts to convey meaning and achieve communication goals? The answer will be A, pragmatics. Next. Which theorist exploration of performativity in language? Which theorist exploration of performativity in language questions the traditional notion that language is a static system, suggesting instead that linguistic meaning is constantly enacted and reenacted through social interaction? Who gave the idea of performativity? Butler, Austin, Searle, or Goffman? It is 73B. J.L. Austin. Absolutely correct. Wait a second. Exploration of performative language questions traditional notion that language is instead that language is constantly enacted and reenacted through social interaction. I think it should be Austin, guys. Okay, we'll stick to B only. Okay. Because she gave the idea of gender performativity. He gave the idea of performativity, performative utterance. Okay. So we'll stick to B, guys. When conducting a meta-analysis of various studies on post-colonial literature, what is the primary goal? To provide a detailed critique of individual text, to generate thematic overviews based on aggregated data from multiple studies, to offer a historical overview of post-colonial theory, to introduce new primary texts for future research. 74. When conducting a meta-analysis of various studies on post-colonial literature, what is the primary goal? 74B, to generate thematic overviews based on exaggerated data. Absolutely right. When employing the grammar translation method to dissect the complex narrative structures in Joyce's Ulysses, what would be the distinguishing activity? Facilitating free-flowing discussions, engaging students in role plays, utilizing multimedia aids, or translating key passages and providing a detailed grammatical syntactical analysis. D will be the correct answer. 75D. Which play, very good, which play by Tom Stoppard intricately combines the fate of Shakespeare's minor characters with philosophical debates on existence and chance? We talked about this work when we had our previous classes. It is Rosencrantz and Guildensterns Are Dead from the work Hamlet by Shakespeare. In the play The Homecoming by Pinter, what is the relationship of the character Teddy to the patriarch Max? Son, brother, nephew, or adopted child? It is A. Teddy is the son to Max. In what poem does T.S. Eliot employ a fragmented structure and a multitude of literary allusions, reflecting the disillusionment of the post-World War generation, and starts with April is the cruelest month? The correct answer is the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, Ash Wednesday, Four Quartets, or The Wasteland. D will be the correct answer, 78D. Very good, Ayu. Very good, Gaurav. Very good, everyone. In Swinburne's hymn to Proserpine, the speaker expresses a nostalgic longing for the pre-Christian past. How does Swinburne use this poem to critique the Victorian era's cultural and religious transformations? By idealizing the simplicity and purity of Christian doctrine, by lamenting the loss of pagan freedom and the rise of rigid orthodoxy, by embracing the scientific advancements, or by promoting atheism and existential nihilism. B will be the correct answer, by lamenting the loss of pagan freedom. Richard Steele's pseudonym in the political pamphleting was Richard Steele's pseudonym in political pamphleting was M.B. Drapier, Sir Roger de Coverley, Lemuel Gulliver, or Isaac Bickerstaff. Isaac Bickerstaff was his pseudonym, and it was also the pseudonym of some other writer as well. It was Jonathan Swift. Next, Thomas Decker's The Wonderful Year deals with Thomas Decker's The Wonderful Year deals with London civic politics, royal festivities, the War of the Theatres, or the plague. This particular work deals with the plague. D will be the correct answer. Okay, so 81D. Okay. Which work by Alexander Pope presents a systematic treatise on poetic aesthetics and principles? Yes, 81D. Which work by Alexander Poe presents a systematic treatise on poetic aesthetics and principles? An essay on criticism, essay on man, epistle to Dr. Arbuthnot, or the Dunciad? 82, the correct answer will be option number A, essay on criticism. Which postmodern Indian English novel is predicted on the unreliable memory of its narrator, deftly intertwining personal recollection with the mythic and the historical, thus questioning the nature of storytelling itself? The Moor's Last Eye, The Guy, The Calcutta Chromosome, Red Earth, and Pouring Rain. It is option number A, The Moor's Last Eye, because the story deals on the idea of recollection. Okay. What is the unique structural feature of Vikram Seth's novel The Golden Gate? It is written entirely in haiku. It uses multiple narrators. It is written in sonnet form. It doesn't use any punctuation. If you remember, we talked about Eugene Onegin by Alexander Pushkin. This particular work inspired Vikram Seth, and he borrowed the Onegin stanza and he wrote this work in sonnet form. So it is written in sonnet form. It is also called the novel in verse. 84, C will be the correct answer. During the neoclassical period, whose prescriptions for the correct dramatic unities in his observations profoundly influenced early modern theatrical criticism, blending Aristotle's percepts with contemporary French classicism? Answer. Nicolas Beaulieu, John Dryden, Joseph Addison, or Pierre Corneille? 85, you think it's Dryden Okay, C, Joseph Addison. Oh, because these are the only two names you're familiar with. A will be the correct answer. This particular work or observations is by Nicholas. In the rhetoric of fiction, which critic analyzes the narrative techniques and implied author in fiction influencing the field of narratology? The correct answer amongst the four is A, Wayne C. Booth. A will be the correct answer. Who talked about implied reader? It was Wolfgang Eisler who talked about implied reader in reader response theory. Okay. Which of the following is not a characteristic of Marxist literary theory? It emphasizes the role of class struggle. It ignores the material conditions. It looks at literature as a product of economic and ideological circumstances. It often explores themes of power exploitation and inequality. B will be the answer to this question. It is not a characteristic of Marxist literary theory. Which theorist's notion of performative utterance challenges traditional distinctions between constative and performative language, emphasizing the role of language in constituting reality? It is J.L. Austin who talked about performative utterance. Okay. What is the term used to describe the phenomenon of having multiple words or expressions in a language that convey the same or similar meaning? Lexical redundancy, lexical ambiguity, lexical borrowing, or lexical synthesis? The correct answer to this question will be lexical redundancy. A. Correct. So 89, A will be the answer. Whose theory, often called the bow-wow theory, suggests that language origins are imitative, stemming from humans mimicking natural sounds, particularly animal calls, which then evolved into structured speech. Max Muller, Otto Jespersen, Wilhelm Wundt, or Edward Sapir, who talked about the bow-wow theory? It was Max Muller who talked about the bow-wow theory. Okay, so 90, A will be the answer. Ethnographic research in literary studies might involve which of the following practices? Isolating the text from any cultural context, immersing oneself in the community and culture from which the literature originates, performing a purely textual analysis, limiting study to establish literary canon works. B will be the answer. In audiolingual method framework, what strategy would best help students internalize the rhythmic structure of epic poetry, such as Milton's Paradise Lost? Conducting written analysis and discussions on the epic themes, using repetitive oral drills and choral recitation, providing historical background information, or encouraging written summaries of each book in the epic. So B will be the answer, using repetitive oral drills, because we're talking about audio lingual method framework. Okay. Yes. B. Very good. Which scholar founded the CCCS at the University of Birmingham, thus playing a pivotal role in the establishment of cultural studies? It was Richard Hogarth who was the first director. And what was the year? 1964. The next director was Stuart Hall, 1968. In which play does Tennessee Williams explore the psychological decline of the Southern Belle, set against the backdrop of post-World War II New Orleans? Tell me. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, The Glass Menagerie, A Streetcar Named Desire, or Orpheus Descending? C will be the answer, because A Streetcar Named Desire is the work which has the setting of New Orleans. And please remember this particular work, it's very important. Which modernist playwright wrote Six Characters in Search of an Author, a play that controversially breaks the fourth wall and examines the nature of character reality? Luigi Pirandello, Brecht, Jean Cocteau, or Eugene Ionesco? A will be the answer to this question. This is a metafictional work. Who is the author of the Canterbury Tales, a collection of stories presented as a part of storytelling? It is Geoffrey Chaucer. Okay. Next. Which novel by James Joyce is known for its complex narrative structure, use of multiple narrative styles, and exploration of themes such as religion, Irish identity, and the nature of language? Which work by Joyce is known for narrative structure, use of narrative styles, and theme of religion, Irish identity, and the nature of language. It is Ulysses. Next, which is a key influence on the non-fictional works of the Puritan age? The Italian Renaissance, the French Revolution, the Protestant Reformation, or the Age of Enlightenment? The correct answer will be the Protestant Reformation, 98C. Very good, Simran. The critical post-colonial themes of migration, memory, and identity are central to which novel, which juxtaposes the political turbulence in Bangladesh with the personal turmoil of the protagonist? The critical post-colonial themes of migration, memory, and identity are central to which amongst the following works, and which work has Bangladesh's political turbulence as the backdrop? No onions, nor garlic, the hungry tide, the desirable daughters, or the shadow lines by Amitabh Ghosh. The correct answer will be the shadow lines by Ghosh. Who is the author of the novel Coolie, which depicts the life of a young boy Munno and his experience of poverty and exploitation? Narayan Anand Rao or Khushwant Singh? Coolie is a work by Mulkraj Anand, so B will be the correct answer. And Munno is the boy who dies at a very young age because of tuberculosis in this work. Okay, please remember this. In Lives of the Poets, whose evaluative biographies showcased a balanced critical approach that oscillated between the empirical details of writers' lives and the aesthetic merits of their literary output. The Lives of the Poets is a work by Samuel Johnson, so A will be the answer. Okay. The act of reading, which theorist elaborates on the concept of reader response criticism, focusing on the role of the reader in interpreting texts. I'll have some water, guys. Answer karo. It should be A, C. यहाँ कैसे confusion हो रही है? The act of reading is a work by. Okay, the correct answer will be Wolfgang Eisert. A. A will be the answer, guys. Okay, the one who talked about implied reader. Naturalism in literature tends to draw a distinct boundary between subjective interior world of characters and the objective external world they inhabit, place a profound emphasis on the transformative power of human imagination and creativity, contend that human behavior and personality traits are inextricably tied to environmental and genetic influences, highlight the metaphysical dimensions of human existence that transcend physical reality. C will be the answer because it focuses on human behavior and personality being inextricably tied to environment and genetic influences. Who is known for articulating the concept of strategic essentialism in post-colonial and feminist theory? Spivak, Bell Hooks, Butler, or Edward Glissant? It is Spivak, guys. A will be the correct answer. Which of the following epistemic violence is also a term given by Spivak? Subaltern was a term she borrowed from Gramsci. Which of the following best describes a pidgin language? And she has also talked about hybridity. A language that has evolved from several independent languages and has no native speaker. A native language that is spoken as a first language. A language that has undergone simplification and modification to serve as a second language. A language that is spoken only by a specific professional or occupational group. 105 A will be the correct answer. Chalo. Which linguist concept of evolutionary phonology posits that phonological patterns are shaped by natural phonetic processes and cultural evolution rather than innate constraints, complicating the origin of phonology roots? Who talked about this? Evolutionary phonology. It was D. Joan Bybee. In applying deconstructive criticism to a novel, which method would be most appropriate? Interpreting the novel as having a single unified meaning, exploring contradictions and ambiguities to reveal multiple, often conflicting interpretations, contextualizing the novel within its historical period, or evaluating the author's biography as a means to understand the text. B will be the correct answer, exploring contradictions and ambiguities. In the context of Chomsky's language acquisition device, how might a teacher leverage this theory to facilitate advanced literary interpretation among high school students? Answer. 108. B. By immersing students in varied complex literary text. Absolutely right. Who wrote The Uses of Literacy and is recognized for their early contributions to the development of cultural studies in Britain? B will be the answer. Raymond Williams was the writer of The Uses of Literacy. Sorry, Uses of Literacy, guys. Sorry, Richard Hogarth. Richard Hogarth will be the answer. Okay, next. Um, Culture and Materialism is a work by Williams. वो आप याद रखना. Which English Renaissance play by Johnson centers around a man who pretends to be moribund to manipulate those around him for financial gain? Walpole, The Alchemist, Every Man in His Humor, or Bartholomew Fair? It is a Walpole by which writer? Ben Jonson. Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf depicts a turbulent evening at the home of which university professor and his wife, George and Martha, Nick and Honey, Willie and Linda, Tom and Amanda. The correct answer will be George and Martha. These are the couple जिनके घर पे पार्टी वो लोग conduct करते हैं. And Nick and Honey are the ones who are the visitors. The Tiger and the Lamb are poems by Blake that explore different aspects of creation, in which larger collection are these poems found: Songs of Innocence and Song of Experience. In William Morris's News from Nowhere, critique the capitalist society of the 19th century. What literary form does Morris utilize to deliver his socialist ideals? Dystopian narrative exploring the future decline of capitalist societies, a series of dramatic monologues revealing the lives of industrial workers, a utopian novel set in a future pastoral England, or a collection of essays advocating political reform. The correct answer will be a utopian novel set in future pastoral England. 113 C will be the correct answer. It has a utopic vision, guys. Which novel by Faulkner employs multiple narrators and non-linear storytelling techniques to explore the decline of the Compson family in the American South? Which work explores the Compson family? Light in August, As I Lay Dying, The Sound and the Fury, or Absalom, Absalom? The correct answer will be The Sound and the Fury, C. Okay, next. Which novel by Foster explores the themes of homosexuality in early 20th century Britain and was published posthumously in 1971? This work is also semi-autobiographical in nature. A Passage to India, Howard's End, Morris, or The Longest Journey? C will be the answer, because E.M. Foster himself was homosexual and he didn't publish this work of his in his lifetime but got it published posthumously. Yes. During the Age of Revival, many non-fiction works reflected a characteristic shift in theological discourse. This shift is often described as a movement from scholasticism to rationalism, humanism, mysticism, or transcendentalism. It is B, humanism, because okay, guys, fix हो गया है. All right. So, 117, the interplay between myth and realism in which novel acts as a. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay. So, acts as a literary framework to explore the multi-layered history and cultural memory of India. Midnight Children will be the correct answer to this question. In R.K. Narayan's novel The Guide, which of the following is the name of its protagonist? Kamal, Manohar, Raju, or Kathan? The correct answer will be C, Raju. Raju is the protagonist of the work The Guide. Okay. Rosie is the female protagonist of this work. जिसका दूसरा नेम है नालिनी. Who authored Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity, a work that challenges the categories of gender identity and introduces the concept of gender performativity? Butler will be the correct answer to this question. Next, the stream of consciousness technique in literary modernism found one of its earliest authoritative theoretical formulations in the essays of which critic who meticulously expounded on the narrative methods underlying such famous works as Ulysses and To the Lighthouse. The common reader aspects of the novel, modern fiction or psychology and literature. Modern fiction will be the answer, and initially this work was also called modern novel. Okay, next. New criticism primarily advocates for the exploration of literature as a reflection of societal structures and power dynamics, the evolution of a text's inherent structure and meaning independent of any extrinsic considerations, the considerations of the author's socioeconomic background, the use of reader response theory to determine the meaning of text. B will be the correct answer to this question. Which scholar's work has been crucial in the development of disability studies by interrogating the construction of normalcy in literary text? Homi Bhabha, Sedgwick, Leonard J. Davis, or Edward Said? The only figure over here that we know is